All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, welcome to another edition of Power Connections, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited about being with you guys today out there on the network. Hey, Kevin Vaughan here with you. And I have a wonderful guest I'm going to get to right away because time is money and money is time. Josh, good to see you today, man. How you doing today, buddy? Welcome to Power Connections.
Hey, I'm glad to be here with you, man. I love the name of your podcast, Power of Connections. That's something I think a lot of us forget. It's good to connect with people.
You got that right, man. Yeah, there's only like what 8 billion people on the planet. I don't see how I can not meet one of them.
Exactly. Exactly. There's
Exactly.
power in it, man.
Yeah, it sure is, man. And we thank God for the opportunity and the personality to do that as well. So, you can say hi to people. They may not say hi, but that's okay. I did my part. So, I have a lot of friends, I'm sure you do as well, that love to communicate and talk as well. Hey, guys, if you don't know, Power Connections brings on powerful people like Brother Josh Hatcher, ladies and gentlemen, where we talk about what he's doing. We're going to be talking about his manlyhood.com programming and business model, and also Hatcher Media. So, matter of fact, it's the first time really talking to him about this area, guys. So you guys are in for a great ride today on the network. But Josh, there's a lot going on the planet, man. And I don't like to dwell on the negative, but people just need a little encouragement sometime, a little, hey, you can do it. You may need a little help from us maybe sometime, but guess what, guys? You can do it. You can hang in there. We were just talking about that offline that, hey, things come up, but we still got to do it, deal with it. Josh, it's called life. But if you have a few words of encouragement or empowerment for anybody, for those listening out there, if one person's helped today, Josh, we're happy.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really the key is, I think that when you do something good for somebody,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there they look at the world through the wrong lens. I was talking to a guy today and he was saying,
Yeah.
you don't do for what you can get. You do for what, for the common goal, you do to make the difference.
Yeah.
If you do for what you can take out of it,
Right.
then it's not going to work. You do
Right.
because you want to make a difference. You do because you want to achieve the goal. You do because you want to help. And then God is the one that makes sure that it comes back to you. And I
Absolutely.
think that's the honest truth. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'm
if
with
you want to
you.
win, make sure you do the right thing. It'll come back to you. It always does.
You're exactly right, Josh. I appreciate that. It's powerful. And I'm glad you mentioned the creator God. I don't know why people just think stuff just happened. Things just don't happen. Everything in my home here just didn't happen. Somebody created it and I brought it to the house.
Yeah.
It didn't appear on its own. That's
Yeah.
powerful. So yeah, thank you so much, Josh, for that. Hey, Josh, if you would, because I really didn't get a chance to research your bio a little bit, but tell us about Josh Hatcher a little bit about you and where you're born, how you got started in this area. If you don't mind, little bio on you, my friend. Thank you
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
for sure. For sure. Yeah. I'm from the middle of nowhere. I live, in north central Pennsylvania and
Ah,
right not far from the New York line. I grew up here, was born
yeah,
here, and little town I grew up in had about 700 people. And I think that might have been counting a few cats and cows.
exactly.
And, just everybody knows everybody's name and everybody's business. And
Yeah,
went away to college, met a pretty girl,
yeah,
married her while we were still in school. And on our
yeah.
1 year wedding anniversary, we had twins.
Oh, wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah,
And so we've raised our kids now. They're grown and we've got grandkids and uh oh yeah. Yeah, and
great.
that's the fun part of life now is, looking out for grandkids and
Yeah.
experiencing what it's like to be empty nesters and the second chapter of life. So it's fun.
Exactly, my friend. Absolutely. That's the American dream right there, buddy. That is the
Yeah.
American dream. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the honest truth. I think a lot of people think it's about, you
Right.
know, making all the money or,
Right.
no, look, it's the American dream is raising those kids, you know,
Absolutely.
and if you don't have kids, then it's, you know, whatever that is, it's has
Yeah.
very little to do with what's in your bank account
Right.
and more to
Yeah.
do with the connections and the friendships and the love and the
Absolutely.
whatever kind of family you're building.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful, man. I love it. One thing, ladies and gentlemen, that Josh mentioned that's really exciting. Josh, every now and then you try to sum up God in a couple of words or so, but God is a server. And he's serving us every day, man. If I could sum up God, he's a server. And that means he loves us so much that he's serving us with the planet, with all the things he's created for us to enjoy. and I get excited about that. So that's a good example. God leaves clues. That's why I mentioned it. He leaves us
Mhm.
clues that, hey, don't think about just yourself. Think about somebody else. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And if we're made in his image,
Yeah,
then that's what we're supposed to
exactly.
be doing too, you know?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
echoes, we're echoes of that, you know? And that's,
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, that's where we feel satisfied.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
at the end of the day, if you're just taking,
Yeah,
look at the people that have everything and look how
right,
miserable their lives are.
right. Yeah, they're
You
missing
know?
a few things. Yeah, they're missing a few
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
So
man. Yeah, so that's great, man. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I'm here with Josh Hatcher, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about his manlyhood program and also his media, Hatcher Media, as well. Matter of fact, I was going to ask you, Josh. I meant to ask you offline, but I work for Lockheed Martin, and I don't know if you got a brother that worked for Lockheed, but I know another Hatcher down here in Atlanta.
no, I don't. I
Okay,
don't know. I might have
so
some
cousins.
friend. There's a couple of different Hatcher families throughout the country
Yeah,
that are not related, and then there's a lot of
gotcha.
Hatchers that are. But there's an English crew of Hatchers. There's an
Okay.
African American crew of Hatchers, and there is a
Oh,
connection between my family and that family,
yeah.
where there
Powerful.
was I think my family helped them as they were leaving the South,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And they were headed north. My family helped them. They took on our name. Um,
Wow.
and then
Powerful,
there,
man.
yeah, that's kind of a cool story. I kind of always liked
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that
And
is
then
real.
there was another, uh, and I mean, our family was just about as poor, but we helped them anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
exactly.
there's some Hatchers that are in my family. The Hatchers are supposedly, the story is that it was a Native American name that got changed
Wow.
from Hatchie to Hatcher, but nobody could ever seem to prove that. So I
Right.
don't know if it's true or not. But
Yeah, somewhere in the records, maybe. Hopefully, I don't know, but
yeah, yeah,
no.
there hasn't been a record, but I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
and maybe it was just a something somebody
Yeah,
made up so they could avoid paying taxes. I don't know, but
I don't know.
that,
It's all the above, man. I tell you.
yeah,
Yeah, I found out even in our family line, people just made mistakes on the spelling of the last name. They
that
changed.
happened a lot.
Yeah, man, just left the letter out, or whatever, or added a letter or whatever, and changed the whole thing because the way they heard it, that's the way they wrote it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened a lot. It's with people coming over on boats and people
yeah,
just even the census going town to town
yeah.
because they wrote everything down,
Right.
and one person was telling another person was
Yeah,
writing it down. Happened
yeah.
all the time. Names got changed all
Yeah,
the time.
exactly, man. Just amazing. So for whatever reason, but it's amazing, just amazing. But we are here today, and we're excited about that as well. Matter of fact, this is kind of off the subject there. Josh, I was going to ask you, did you ever do your DNA check? You ever do your DNA? You guys ever do the
No,
ancestry?
I'm
Yeah,
I have a aunt that always checks all the she has,
yeah,
a lot of that kind of stuff. I've
yeah,
avoided it because I'm like, I don't want China to have my DNA, but the more I think about it, they probably got it anyway. I mean,
exactly. Or maybe I don't know.
they
Yeah,
already have all my data and they know everything about me.
yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. Definitely our digital footprint for sure, no
right,
doubt.
right.
And they're probably watching this right now and taking our faces off. I
Right,
know.
right, right. I'm always getting ads for everything I talk about, so it's already
Yeah,
happening. They already know
yeah.
everything about me.
I love it. Hey guys, this is Power Connections with my wonderful guest here, Josh Hatcher from up north. Josh, I'm from Poughkeepsie, New York. I don't know if you know where Poughkeepsie's at, but
I've been there. I have been
yes,
there. I
sir.
stayed in a hotel there one time. So
Oh,
middle of
wonderful.
no, that's also kind of in the middle of nowhere, right on the edge of
Yeah,
somewhere, but there's nothing there in Poughkeepsie.
yeah,
So
exactly. Growing up, man, like you said, you knew everybody. If I got in trouble across town, my mom knew it before I got home.
yeah, yeah, that's a neat little town. I like it. Like
It
you said,
is.
you're right. It's right close to
Yeah,
Hudson and everything where there's
yeah,
something, but
yeah,
yeah, there's
exactly.
nothing, not a whole lot there. So it's kind of a neat little
Right.
community. Yeah.
Exactly. Matter of fact, one part, ladies and gentlemen, now you probably had the same situation, ladies and gentlemen, growing up, is that I would eat at home and then go out and eat everywhere else. Got like five other homes to go eat.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was powerful. Hey guys, this is Power Connection. We're talking to Josh Hatcher. Hey Josh, I want to talk to you about manlyhood, man. Tell me about the creativity of that, what it's all about, the purpose and the mission. What is it? What is manlyhood, my friend?
Yeah. So, what manlyhood is about is it's about helping men be even better men. I know you kind of described the business model behind it. I don't know that there's really a whole lot of a business model yet. I want to build something there where it's
Yeah,
something that maybe can be a career. Right now, it's just a mission.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I've kind of that's kind of been that thing that I'm putting out there, and hasn't made me a penny, but I don't worry. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah,
I say that's the thing that, my I had a really good dad who invested in me and taught me and every other boy in town what it meant to be a man.
there you go.
And I always felt that responsibility as
Yeah,
I was growing up to
yeah,
when, young men would come into my life, and I kind of modeled myself after what my
yeah,
dad taught me.
yeah,
And when there was a young man that needed guidance, I found myself offering that. And then I had a skill set that I had learned, when it came to the
yeah,
internet. I mean, I've been in radio since I was 14, so I had that skill set,
yeah,
and then the internet puts all of that capability right at your hands. So I'm
yeah,
like, I'm going to use what I've got, you know,
yeah, yeah. I
and
love it, man.
it just kind of bloomed and blossomed into something where I'm, in the top 1% of listen notes on the podcast. And
Yeah,
I use my writing, I use my graphic design, I use,
yeah,
my radio skills, and it's
yeah,
kind of blown up. And I get to
yeah,
interview some of I've had people on my show that have been on the number one and number two podcasts in the world, and I just keep
yeah.
going. So I'm like, let's see what happens.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, man. That's great. Yeah, that's how it is, man. You just keep the evolving, if you will, and keep growing and learning the technology. So that's wonderful. Matter of fact, Josh, I didn't, of course, you wouldn't know this, but my mom, when we had some great Christmases growing up, man, mom and dad, and down with the cousins during the Christmas time. But one of my gifts that my mom gave me, man, was a tape recorder, man.
mm,
Gave me a
yeah,
portable tape recorder. I learned how to use it and all that, but I never knew I was going to be in radio, man. I've been
hmm
in radio for almost 40 years, man. It's
yeah.
amazing.
It was the same thing with me. When you a lot of people hear themselves recorded and they
Yeah,
don't like the sound of their voice. But
right, right.
when you're a kid and you
Yeah,
start recording yourself,
right,
by the time a lot of people had the tape recorder, but they never used it that way. It sounds like you did. So by the time radio comes around, you're used to hearing yourself. So it doesn't sound weird to you. You
right,
know,
right.
that was that I think they invited me to the radio station to record ads, to
Yeah,
come in and do some
yeah,
voiceover. And
exactly.
I fell in love with it. And so I started running the board. It
Yeah,
was an old station, running the board
yep,
for the
yep,
Pittsburgh
yep.
Pirates games.
Reel to reel.
Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah,
the old carts, the 8-track
yeah,
carts where you could play
yep,
the
yep,
ads. And
yep, yep.
and I'd have to listen for the announcers to say, and it's time to throw it back to our local stations for ads. And then you'd
Uh,
have to push the button to play the ad. And
yep, all of that,
yeah,
man. I
yeah,
love it. That's
it was
powerful.
it was a great job for a teenager. And
Yeah,
then you looked really cool because then in between, when the game was over, you could DJ for an hour and you could play
exactly.
play the records, and then call the girls and say, hey, I'm playing a song for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. It's kind of a similar journey, man. In school, learned, I was at the radio station on campus, man, and then graduated, got into the Savannah market, Savannah, Georgia market, and was able to work for one of the top AM stations there. But I couldn't say a lot. All I do is ran the reels, man. Just had to
Yeah,
pop them on at the right time and let them do the thing. But I got so anxious to say something, I started doing the weather finally, just the weather
right.
feed. I finally broke in and said, let me just do the weather real quick. And that's really how I got started, man. It was funny when I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did it and didn't get in trouble, luckily.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had all kinds of crazy. One day, somebody had run into a horse, and the road was
Wow.
closed, so somebody had to announce it. So that's how
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was one of the first things I said on the air, kind of live, was like,
yeah,
uh, "Motorists, look out! There's a horse on Route 6."
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I love it, man. Exactly, exactly. That's
and then
powerful.
it just kind of, that my mom always told me, if you could find a job where you could talk for a living,
Yeah, moms know everything, man. I never would have guessed that, man. I would be in that. But obviously, my mom saw something and I didn't know about and gave me a tape recorder. I never forget that. I wish I would have kept that little tape recorder too as a momentum.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it was a toy from Radio Shack. I think it was Radio Shack. I don't know if you remember those days.
hmm
Radio Shack had one with the red and gray. I think gray and white buttons. I think it was. It was red, yeah, red, gray, and white. I think it was for recording. But anyway, it was a great toy, man. I just could not learn. I was just so excited. I don't think I even played with anything else after that.
That's
After that,
awesome.
yeah, that's
Very
powerful.
cool.
Well, Josh, we're talking about manlyhood today. Josh, what's some of the, we got to help our men out there. No doubt about that today.
Mm.
We got to help our men. We got to help our young men coming up as well. But what's some of the top areas you're seeing that men need today, sir? If you don't mind talking
Yeah,
about
for
that.
sure. I a lot of the things that we talk about on the podcast and the things that,
Yeah,
honestly, just even in, we have a Facebook group where any men can join. It's free, and we have a lot of
yeah,
discussions on there. And I'll a lot of times I'll put a poll on there and just say, what do
yeah,
you guys
yeah,
need help with? Which I think
yeah.
really helps because then I know what kind of guests to get because I've asked, what do you need help with? And the
Right,
questions that they ask, okay, I need help with my relationships. I need
right.
help with fitness, and that's honestly that's one of my own struggles. I struggle with that too. And so,
Okay.
I've got guys that I'll bring in that help kind of coach these guys
Yeah,
and encourage them and
right.
and I'll try to seek that out, so they need help with marriage, with relationships, they need help with parenting.
Yeah,
You got young dads who have no idea what they're doing. They
right,
don't have, they never had a
right,
dad to show them how.
right,
They
right,
never had a dad, a dad to model what it was like. How am I supposed to treat,
right, right.
you know?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you've also got guys who are going through a divorce. Now I've
right.
never been through that myself,
Yeah,
but
me,
but they need to know how to walk through that.
right,
So, I'll find that answer for
yeah,
them, and I'll bring somebody on, and we can talk through how do we walk through this process if this is what you've got to walk through. And so I think that's the kind of
yeah,
thing that we try to help these guys,
right.
walk through. And at the same time, then that other aspect is even mental health. Like, I'm not a mental health professional,
No, me either.
but
Yeah,
but that is a huge issue because men, we don't talk about that stuff,
true. Yeah,
and I mean, just like we all have physical bodies that have physical health
right.
issues,
Yeah,
we all have a mind, and we all have emotions, and so we all have mental and physical health that
yep.
we need to work on.
Hmm.
And now that doesn't mean we all have, you know,
Right,
diagnoses, but we all have
right.
things that we need to work on so that we can stay
Yeah,
healthy. And so
yeah, yeah.
talking through that, and especially knowing that a lot of guys probably have undiagnosed problems because they've never talked about it. So
Right. Absolutely.
talking through that and encouraging them to get help if they need it.
Yeah, that's it, Josh. You hit around the head. Yeah, because one of the areas for me personally, just how to handle your emotions, man, and how to handle anger, things that come up, all that, man. I had to figure out the hard way in some cases. You figure it out eventually, but there was nobody that really coached me until I really needed some coaching. And I think that's part of the challenge today, and the recipe for the solution is that men need other strong men, and,
Mhm.
and that are just living. They're not necessarily perfect, right? I'm talking about they just living. They could be, married a long time or maybe not married a long time. It doesn't really matter, but they're true men. They're not playing with the manhood side at all. So it's always good to hear from other men about your money, about how to, handle your daughter. You got a brand new daughter now. You bring it home from the hospital. What do you do? How do you handle that? You may have twins, things like that. Whatever, somebody needs to be around to say, hey, it's going to be okay. And, if your wife is having some emotional or some, things that are going on with her, you got to be able to handle that and how to love her and how to, be patient with her and not get upset. All these things that we don't talk about because I think we don't have enough people in our lives. Not to say everybody needs to know your business, but you got to have a few people in your life to say, hey, Josh, I'm going through some stuff, man. Can we talk for a minute? You got to have a few buddies anyway.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think that's super important. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to try to help build.
Yeah,
Like the Facebook group is, it's not
yeah,
the same as a real life. I mean, you need somebody you can look across the table with
right,
and that can
right,
call you on your BS. I
right.
mean, I think you need that.
Yep,
But because a lot of guys don't have that, my hope was that I could start
yeah,
having guys get used to having at least
yeah,
a little bit of conversation so that they
yeah,
recognize their need for it and maybe get
right,
used to
right,
talking about some of this stuff so that,
yeah,
all right, I realize I need somebody with skin on, not
yeah,
just bites and bits on the screen,
right,
but I need a real person now because I
right,
this made me feel a little bit better to get a little bit off my chest. Let's keep
yeah,
going. Let's keep digging
yeah,
deeper.
absolutely.
And some of the
Josh,
guys have gotten in, actually went from online to actually meeting in person for coffee and going the
yeah,
next steps.
yeah,
So
totally. Yes, exactly what we do here in the Metro Atlanta area. Same thing. Yeah, eventually you get the trust and the understanding, and we meet. Man, we may go bowling. We may go for a retreat. Man, we may go get some breakfast together, or just hang out. If it's nice enough, we'll go to the park and just talk. With the brothers and read the word or something. Whatever. that we want to do together. The goal is just to have that camaraderie. And how about this, Josh? Just to be a friend. Don't even you don't have to talk about nothing. Just be just whatever they want to talk about. You just be a friend. And we ain't got to try to solve the world. We just want to be there for you, if we can. I think that's part of the challenge is having friends. I think I got at least what 5 or 6 friends that I can call a friend where you can give them the house key and not no problem. You're not worried about nothing.
Yeah. I got a group of guys I meet with every other Monday night, and
Yeah,
sometimes we do a Bible study, but most of the
yeah,
time we goof off. And
yeah.
summertime, like we're just barbecuing, man. Like
Oh, yeah.
we
That's
sit around the
perfect.
campfire and we
Yeah,
we tell jokes and laugh and goof off. Like that's the
yeah,
90% of what we do, but that's how we get close.
yeah. Exactly.
And then when we need each other, we trust each
Yeah,
other because of that
yeah. I love
fun
it.
and that connection.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you, do you have some siblings? You have siblings?
Yeah, I've got a brother who lives out in Ohio. We grew up together. We're close. We're pretty close, and I
Good
talk to
deal.
him. Talk to him. I haven't talked to him as much as I should here recently. We've just been really busy, but love
Yeah,
him.
just,
And I haven't seen him as much as I want to, so that's been
yeah.
challenged with work. So I need to get out and try to visit him here soon. He's got some
Yeah.
kids and love his kids. They're awesome. So
Amen. Oh, absolutely, man. Nothing like our nieces and nephews. I got 2 beautiful sisters. They have their families as well, but I didn't have any brothers from my that I know of. So that was important to me to have just be close to them. And like you said, we don't see them enough, but because they're up in upstate New York still as well. But thank God for Zoom and telephone calls every now and then.
yeah, when my dad was alive, dad was my phone a friend.
Yeah,
When you've got a problem and you can't figure out, and
yeah,
when dad was alive, what I didn't
yeah.
realize is I'd call him up and
Hmm.
I'd ask him a question, and I thought he knew all the answers.
Right, right.
But what I didn't realize, and I found out later, is that he was just really good at using Google quietly when I was on the phone with him.
Ah, very good. That's
But
good. Yeah,
now a lot of times I'll call my brother and
yeah.
he does the same thing. And that's what he told me. He's the one that figured out that dad was good at Google.
Oh, I
And so
love
we
it, man.
realized, oh, okay, that's what's happening here.
I love it, man. That's powerful. I love that. Yeah, whatever it takes to get the answer right. Yeah,
Right,
that's
right.
beautiful.
Yeah, I
Powerful.
thought dad just knew everything, but apparently not.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Josh, what did your dad do? What did your dad do, man? What did he
Yeah.
do?
Well, so my dad was a factory worker, but you'll appreciate this. I think he had a side hustle, and
Oh,
his side hustle was he was a professional clown,
okay.
like a birthday
Oh,
clown.
wow. So he's certified as a clown?
I don't know if there was any certification for it.
Okay.
That's just what he did. So my whole life,
That sounds,
he'd come,
yeah,
on weekends, he'd go out and do birthday parties
yeah,
and so he'd come home, he dressed up, with
yeah.
funny clothes and makeup, and
I
we'd
love
he'd
it.
say, "Okay, kids," like that was the play
Yeah,
money. He said, "Okay,
yeah,
kids, let's go out to eat." And
yeah.
and we never thought anything of the fact that a clown was taking us out to eat somewhere.
Right,
And people would come up to the table and he'd make balloon animals for them, and it
right.
was not weird at all to us,
No,
you know.
no. Yeah, exactly. I love it, man. That's
So,
perfect. I was
yeah,
thinking as you was talking that was the way that our men and moms handled their mental illness. If it's not mental illness, but their way of handling stress, I guess is what the best way to say it. I think that was their way of handling stress and the things of life. Our parents did things like that. We didn't know it at the time. I think that was their way to handle life, in my opinion. In some cases. So just never know.
yeah,
And as we talk about, you wonder how do our parents do it? I had my grandparents. Josh had 11 children, man, and I saw the house. The house could fit in my house today,
mm,
almost it seems. So you wonder how they did it, and they did it by love, by laughter, and joking, all the above, and just enjoying each other and protecting each other. But I think our parents are great survivors, man, because they did whatever it took to keep the family together. That was powerful right there.
yeah.
Just
Well, that I know that's how we got through because
yeah,
when my kids were growing up, we didn't have a lot, and
yeah,
and even still, when we get together,
yeah,
our house is loud. We are
yeah.
loud and we are laughing, and yeah, we are a loud,
That's good.
laughing family, just telling jokes, and I mean, it's
Yeah,
just always been that way. And my youngest daughter got married this summer, and it
yeah.
was, I mean,
Wow.
we got married outside up on the hill, and I swear probably every hill
Wow.
within 50 miles probably heard us laughing. So
Wow. Yeah, the echo would have went, man. That would have
yeah,
voice
we had so much fun. Like that's, we've got a group of young adults that's something that's kind of fun now too, is
yeah,
from our church, we've got a group of young adults we've started mentoring that's about the same age as our kids.
yeah.
And because our house has been kind of empty.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
And
exactly.
we just kind of started inviting these kids over on Sunday nights and started cooking dinner for them.
Yes, sir.
And then playing card games and goofing off, and then now we're studying the Bible, and
Right.
and now they're hungry for that, and they walk in the door and they're asking deep questions before we even, like,
Yeah.
hold on, guys, let's get the spaghetti on the table. Just,
Exactly.
you know, but
Exactly.
these kids, we're having fun and we're connecting, and it's just like having 12 extra kids. And the more that I
Right.
think about it, and I'm like, in a couple of years, I'm gonna have a lot of grandkids then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's how we pass it on. That's how you pass on. Unfortunately, the next generation doesn't have the same background we had, as far as the total family, all the time, as you know. So that's powerful, man. Yeah, you're just feeding right into them, and you're helping them grow and helping them to become adults, right? They're going to get to where we're at one day. We pray.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's powerful, man. Well, Josh, one thing I want to ask, because we our network, and for those who don't know, this is all part of my network is part of the Men Let's Talk network, and our goal was to strengthen men as well. Josh, that's what we started from a Bible study, and our goal was to help. We didn't leave the women out, but our goal was to strengthen the family through the man, right? And those who didn't have families to strengthen them to have families if they wanted later on. So this is right on the money there. So today, as far as manlyhood is concerned, Josh, what would you say to the men today? Anything you would like to share with the way before we go to our next part of your network?
yeah, I would say that really, um, you need to take responsibility for yourself. Uh, and I think everything else will flow out of that.
Yeah,
I think it's really easy to blame shift. We want to blame the economy.
right, right.
We want
We'll
to
bring your
blame
wife.
we want to blame Washington. We want to blame China. We want to blame
Yeah,
whoever.
right,
We want to blame the job and your boss, and you want to blame everybody else. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is.
right,
I mean, like if you think about it, if your kid spills milk and your kid is too little to clean it up, it doesn't matter if it's your kid's fault that the milk got spilt.
right.
You're the responsible person that cleans it up,
That's right,
and the blame game has no winner.
right,
And so I think the that's the question I ask a lot of people is like, what does it take to be a man? I ask that in my podcast every week, every guest. And
yeah,
the overwhelming response that I get from men of every stature, best-selling authors,
right.
special forces operators,
Wow,
um,
wow,
all kinds of men,
yeah,
some of the top podcasters in the world, mental health experts,
yeah,
down to, just people I grew up with and went to high school with that have been on my podcast. And I'll ask that
yeah,
question. And the
yeah.
overwhelming answer that I get, what does it take to be a man? Responsibility.
There you go. Yeah, that's good.
So if you ever wonder what it takes to be a man, I'm honestly going to say,
Right.
I mean, I think there's more to it than that, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's probably the
Yeah.
most important one.
Exactly. I agree with you 1,000%, Josh. And we're talking about leadership there. What you're talking about is leadership. And that comes all the way back to the creation of time. God created Adam first for a reason, right? He could have created Adam and Eve at the same time if he wanted to, right? But there's a God leaves clues all the time, doesn't he? He just leaves us clues. So we have to pay attention to those. Now you may not believe everything or believe in God, ladies and gentlemen, but there's clues that the creator leaves us and they work. And there's a
Mhm.
reason why they work. you know?
Yeah,
Incredible.
and leadership doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. It means you're serving. It means you go
Yeah.
first. It means you take
Yeah.
responsibility. It means
Exactly.
if the people that you're supposed to lead mess up, you're
Yeah,
the one who cleans it up.
exactly.
And you can
Exactly.
do that. And
Yeah, yeah,
and the more that you do it in love, in
yeah,
service, and without
yeah.
complaining, the more that it actually makes a difference in the world and makes a
Yes,
difference in you. And it makes a difference in them.
yeah, it really does, man. I love it. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Josh Hatcher, ladies and gentlemen. He is CEO and founder of manlyhood.com, and also Hatcher Media. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But on Josh, before we get off the manlyhood there, if you would, let's do a little commercial break, man. How can folks get in touch with you in this area? We've got some men out there may want to touch bases with you or contact you or even have you on their podcast or on their network as well.
Yeah, for sure. Check out manlyhood.com, like you said. If you want to reach out to me, you can email me at mail, at joshhatcher.com. Or if you look up Josh Hatcher on any social media, you should
Right.
be able to find me there and just, make sure you look for my Big Ugly mug on the profile picture and you'll see
Absolutely.
me.
Exactly. And if you guys got any problems, just say, hey, give me Josh's information. I'll send it to
Oh,
you
for
guys
sure.
as well. No
For
doubt
sure.
about it. Hey, Josh, tell me about your church, man. Your church have a men's ministry there as well?
So, yeah. So, oh man, our church is a lot of fun. So, my
Yeah.
wife's actually the pastor there.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Great.
And, which is crazy. So we've been there we've
Yeah.
been
That's
in
powerful.
attendance there for the church is 22 years old. I think
Yeah.
it's 2002, so almost
Uh-huh.
23 years old.
Yes, sir.
We've been in there for 21 years, I think, 20
Yes,
years.
sir.
And just she's been a pastor for 5 years. She's been in children's ministry. I've served in youth ministry and worship ministry kind of the whole time on and off. Um, and we've both been involved forever,
Yeah.
and God just kind of our pastor that was there for the whole time retired and not retired. He took a job with a Free Methodist church, and so
Yes, sir.
he took a job with a denomination, and God just spoke to her, and we grew up with both of us grew up Baptist,
Yeah.
and typically the Baptist church doesn't ordain women,
Right.
and so we're like, wait, now the Free Methodist Church does, and so we had kind of come around to that way of
Yeah.
thinking.
Right.
Um, I mean, I think we're not going to argue the
Yeah.
some of the listeners are already kind of like gritting their teeth, but that's just what it is,
Right.
But we
Right.
our view of that issue had changed, but I knew that a lot of people that I know have a
Right.
difference of opinion, so I'm like, all right, we
Right.
better like I really believed God was calling her, but I'm
Right.
like, we want to make sure that we study
Yeah.
this out so that we can answer people that want to
Yeah.
talk about this a little deeper. And so we
Exactly.
took some time and studied and we prayed and we fasted
Yeah.
and then left it up to the church to, she let the church know, hey, I want to do this. And then the church decided
Yeah.
and you know what? God has done amazing things in that.
Yes.
But
Amen.
yeah, so it's called Open Arms Community Church, and
I love it.
we've got a booming presence starting to grow. I do our online ministry. I'm our communications director now, and
Yeah.
like our YouTube just reached 100,000 views. Our TikTok just reached
Wow.
100,000
Wow.
views just this year.
Yeah.
So just in 2024 for both
Right.
of them. So
Yeah.
I'm like having a lot of fun playing
Yeah.
around with
Exactly,
that.
man. Congratulations on that. Yeah.
And it's a small little church. I mean, we're not that large of a church in a small little town. So we're
Right.
just kind of, enjoying, you know,
Yeah.
enjoying kind of reaching people. But we plant churches as a church too. So, we do ministry a little different in
Yeah.
that we want to be a sending church. And so,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, it's a different perspective, I think, from a lot of people. And we do some pretty cool stuff.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because the goal is to grow the church,
Right.
the disciples, if you will.
The kingdom
Disciples.
church.
Yeah.
We want
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
reach people for Jesus. And I
Yeah.
don't care
Exactly.
whether they're in our church or whether they're in
Right.
the church, preferably.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and that's a good point, Josh, because we seem to gotten away from that as the church in whole around the world. Is that Jesus told us to go make disciples of all men? That was one of the commandments He asked us to
mhm.
do, and you don't hear that a lot. But I know people are just, doing that, but you don't hear it a lot. That we're
Yeah.
supposed to still do that. We don't
Well,
supposed to keep everything. And
that's actually one of our philosophies too,
yeah,
is that, like if you are a believer, that's your
right,
job.
right,
That's not
right,
just the pastor's job. That's actually
right.
everybody's job.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we
Yeah,
send people out. Actually, we try to send out like like a lot of churches have small groups.
right.
We actually try to view our small groups as churches.
Yes, sir.
And so we call them micro churches, but it's a smaller
Right.
church
Yeah.
and we kind of equip them not necessarily as a pastor because that's a like a
Right.
but we equip them as leaders to lead that
Right.
church.
Right.
And then when we get together as the larger church, that's the
Yeah.
smaller churches coming together.
Yeah.
But some of those smaller churches have become full-fledged churches. Like it started
Right.
small and now they've,
Right.
they've got their own building and it's their own thing now. It's
Yeah.
so it 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 gives it a completely different perspective for us. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those churches are out there reaching people that would never
Yeah.
set foot in
Right.
our big building, you know? So we have a motorcycle church that
Yeah.
goes out and does rides all over town and all over the region. And,
Yeah.
and you asked about men's ministry. So I lead the Tribe of Lions, which is our one of them that's just for men. And that's the one group we meet every other week.
Yeah. That's great, man.
And the motorcycle group, they've got men and women, but they definitely
Right.
reach a lot of men with their group. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, that's great, man. Wow, that's wonderful, man. Thank God for all of that, Josh, and thank you so much for sharing. Because I wanted to hear what you guys are doing. Because you're right, we're supposed to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, ladies and gentlemen, make disciples of all men, and that's the same thing that the apostles did. So I mean, we're just doing it at a different level, but it's the same concept. Is spread the gospel, right? And if they grow, and then they spread the gospel, and they grow, and it grows all over the world. That's the whole purpose of this, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
So
that's
we're
the plan.
excited. Yeah, that's the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan and my wonderful guest, Josh Hatcher. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about manlyhood.com. I want you guys to check it out, guys out there, and the women too. Manlyhood.com. Check out his website. And now we're going to shift over to Hatcher Media. Tell us about that, brother
Yeah.
Hatcher. Hatcher Media all about, buddy.
Yeah. The website for that, by the way, is hatchermedia.net. I actually
.net.
just, yeah,
Okay.
I
Oh
just
yeah.
recently switched over
Okay.
on what I
Great.
wanted to do with that. I did
Yeah.
do a lot more like graphic design and
Gotcha.
kind of a broader perspective. I tried to diversify at first and do
Yeah.
all of the things that I know how to do.
Right.
And I just recently, I actually have a full-time job doing marketing for a local manufacturing
Right.
company. And,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I don't have time to take on all these extra clients that want me to do all these
Right.
little small gigs.
Right.
And I realized like, okay, the clients that I think are probably uh, the most profitable and the ones that I like to work with are
Mhm.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Where a podcast says, I need somebody to edit my podcast each week,
Yeah.
to cut up my podcast into reels,
Right.
and to share them. Sometimes I share them so I either do podcast production and marketing. So
Yes,
that's kind
sir.
of what I'm focusing on with my
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Hatcher Media now, and I'm loving it. And so whatever they need for their podcast, that's what I can do. I mean, I can do all of the stuff
Right.
if somebody
Right.
really needs it, and if I
Right.
want to,
Right.
I
Right.
can do all of it. But that's kind of what I'm focused on, is particularly for my client base. So I want to try to focus on podcast production. So
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I love it. Yeah, because every now and then you'll get a contract or somebody really needs you for a project. Obviously, I think sound like you'll take that on if you
yeah,
have the time.
yeah, yeah. And if I want to say no, I can. That's
Yeah, exactly.
that's
Right.
that.
Yeah.
For a long time, I couldn't. Like I did my business
Right.
full time. That's actually part of how Manlyhood got started. Is
Oh,
I
gotcha.
was doing creative marketing solutions full time,
Yeah.
and I was doing a horrible job at it.
Mm,
I was making like barely any money. My kids were all homeschooled at home. I was working from home, and I was just a mess. Like I was,
wow.
this is like a horrible commercial for my business right now. but I know you'll get the point of it. Is I
Yeah.
was
That was the
I was
beginning, guys, ladies
I
and
was
gentlemen.
I was up all night. I was up until like 3 in the morning every just trying to. And then then all I was building websites for people, and I have like a hosting
Yeah.
platform where I can host them, like resell
Right.
hosting.
Right.
All of my websites got hacked by the
Oh, wow.
Palestine Liberation Army. This was like
Oh,
this
really?
was like 15
Really?
years ago. They all
Wow.
got hacked and replaced. So I had to
Wow.
go through like 25 websites and fix them
Wow.
all and get rid
Yeah.
of the hackers, clean up all the stuff. Some of them I
Woo.
had to rebuild from scratch because they just completely
Yeah.
deleted everything. So I
Exactly.
hadn't slept in like I'd
Wow.
get maybe 2 hours of sleep a night, and then I'd wake up and I hadn't showered. I wasn't eating properly. When I did eat, I was just
Yeah.
eating junk food, and I was just a mess.
Yeah. Woo.
And
Wow.
and then so my customers that I had arrangements with, like that were asking me to finish work, I wasn't getting it done. My customers are getting mad at me, so there's no money coming in.
Right,
um
right,
then the ones that I had done work for, I had to
right.
redo because everything went
Yep,
wrong.
yep.
And then I'm just snapping at the kids, I'm being
Yeah.
rude to my wife, and it was a mess. It had been a few weeks of this at this point, as everything was just going wrong.
Right.
Actually, probably a few months of this, honestly. And my wife comes upstairs, and at that time she was, the Sunday school teacher. She looks at me and
Right.
she says, Josh, I said I would love you forever, and I'm
Right.
not going to leave you ever. I'm going to be married to you forever. But did you
Wow.
have to make it so damn hard?
Right.
And when the Sunday school teacher starts cussing at you,
Right.
you got to do something different.
There's an indicator there, buddy.
I'm in trouble now.
Yes, sir.
And
We are.
so I like, I had a little bit of an existential crisis and I just start kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, hold
Yeah.
up.
Right.
And I realized I had to start working on myself,
There you go.
because I could not do what was
Yeah.
required of me, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it started the process of me growing as a man and
Yeah.
recognizing I had to work
Right.
on kind of going back and recognizing what do I know that's true?
Right.
What do I know? Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? That's kind of what launched that process for
Right.
me.
Yeah, exactly. That's wonderful, man. I love it. Yeah, Josh, that's the same area that we're taking, or to say we're diving into with my mentors. We call it the power of transformation, and because I had to learn that myself about my who I am. I said, who am I? I got to find out who I am. And I was trying to do everything else, but to really find out who Kevin Vaughan was. And then one of my mentors, Josh, he said, first of all, you got to look at you only. You can't blame the wife, can't blame the kids, can't blame the boss or whatever's going on. You can't blame nobody but you. And that's where I started that process where I had to look internally, Josh, to find out what God want me to do. He said, don't focus on nobody else but me. And that's the part that men have to learn. We have to get better. We don't blame nobody for nothing. I don't care if the pipes just broke. You take care of it. You
Yeah.
got to do whatever it takes. So, Josh, you're hitting on a key area that we as men have not been really opened up to or even uh, shown, how to handle it. It's all about the me. You got to fix you. You got to know. And one of good friends of mine out in Arizona, Josh, he has a book basically called "We Have an Identity Crisis." As men, we have an identity crisis because we're a man. I don't have to tell people I'm a man. But are you a man? You know what I'm saying? You're a
Mhm.
man, but are you a man? In from a spiritual standpoint, and that's the part I think that we miss out. And some people have grown up with good parents and good, growing up with good uncles and grandpas and all that stuff. And that's wonderful, but not everybody has, and they didn't have a model, to come up with the character, how to handle anger, how to handle, when your wife, doesn't agree with you. What do how to handle that properly? How to take care of your family when crises comes up. You got a busted water pipe, and maybe your child did it by mistake. You're
Mhm.
gonna be able to handle that properly. All of that. But the power of transformation is real. But I had to look at myself, and I'm still doing that every day, Josh, to get better and better. But I think as men, to get back to that area, we have to learn how to be who we're supposed to be. But we're talking about a spiritual journey now, though. That's what we're talking about, as you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have a program like you do, but I do have a book that might help be kind of a starting ground for that as well. It's called Core
Yeah.
Ops. You can get it on Amazon and
Fantastic.
it walks through, like a military has core ops is
Yeah.
like when a
Yeah.
military has like its core defining principles,
Yeah.
like, and so it actually kind of spells out like what
Yeah.
those are for like each branch of the military so you can kind of
All
see
right.
what they look like.
Yeah.
And then then I spell out what I think a person's core ops are your purpose, your
Yeah.
mission, your
Yeah.
vision, and your values, your PMVV.
All right.
And then the book kind of walks you through with a little bit of a workbook, like how to define that for yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like then I actually give like an example, like I've written down, I say written, written
Yeah.
down my own personal, and then what I
All
like I've
right.
done. You can actually take that and you can apply your
Yeah.
PMVV for like if you're working on a project. Like I did it for manlyhood, and I wrote them both down in the book so you can see.
All right.
Oh, this is what my purpose is.
Yeah.
This is what my
All right.
vision is,
All right.
and just encourage guys to walk through that process
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think it's so. If you don't
Yeah.
know what your purpose is,
All
why
right.
am I here?
All right. All right.
Then everything you do is going to
Yeah.
be in pursuit of that without knowing,
Right.
you
That's
know?
right. Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, it's one of my mottos, Josh, that I use for me just to help remind me every day. I am in hot pursuit of finding the real Kevin Vaughn, and that's
Mm,
a spiritual journey. That's how I remember that. That's based on my training from my coach for several years. I've been with him for since 2006, and we've been talking about the optimum return and also the power of transformation from his books. So, and we're both, learning from that as well. Even the author says he's learning from his own books, because it is a
mhm.
spiritual journey in that area. So I think that's one of the missing areas for us as men. Josh, that we don't have that map, that model, to write stuff down. And of course, you have to include God. You have to include the Holy Spirit. You got to include Jesus. And that's the part that, we got to respect everybody, of course. But without those three, you won't get there. We really won't get to our identity because he's the only one that knows why we're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I believe, I think, I think that's a little bit of a cheat code. If you really want to know what your purpose is, I think your purpose is to glorify God.
That's
I
right.
mean, you can phrase it a little bit differently,
Right.
like, but
Yeah.
I think that's your ultimate purpose. And I think that if you can
Right.
understand that, that's
That's
going to
right.
help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can get a little more specific along with what that might look like
Right.
for you,
Right. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
mean, like you got to be careful because like so
Yeah.
let's say like you really love marathon running,
Right.
that's not your purpose because what happens if
Right.
you break your leg?
Right.
Does that mean you have no purpose anymore? No. That means marathon running can't be your purpose.
Right.
That might be your mission,
Right.
but your mission can change over time,
That's right.
you know? So you don't, so that's why you have to make sure to get your mission right.
Hmm.
This is what my mission is for right now is I'm going to be the best marathon runner I can be because
Yeah.
that way that might be your mission for the rest of your life, but
Yeah.
it might
Exactly.
change. It could change over time too.
Right.
But
Right.
my purpose, that's different.
Yeah.
My
Exactly.
my purpose is to glorify God. My purpose is to love my family.
Yeah.
That kind of that's more about my purpose, like why I exist. Why did God put me together?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And if
Love it.
if you can get that, if you can
Yeah.
really grasp that, and
Hmm.
if you don't believe in God and you say, why did the universe,
Yeah.
make sure that I existed? Well, yeah, you can try to put it together that way if it helps you.
Right.
I personally know that you're going to be lacking something
Yeah.
without having a creator God in the
Right.
perspective, but go for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
go for it if it helps you. But,
Yeah. Exactly. That's
you know,
powerful, Josh. I like that. I love it. It's really what happens is when you think about it, when you really meditate and think about it, it doesn't make sense that there's not a God. That doesn't make any sense, when you really think about it, folks. If you understand this, things that are way they're designed, created, all the details, all the way down to the micro level, God is in there, man. And that's the part right there that got me excited when you think about all the things He's created. I mean, you got to give Him. And matter of fact, Josh, I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago. I said, man, we just got to give God some credit, man. You got to give Him credit. You got to believe Him. Just give Him some credit for what He's done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this don't just happen. All this just does not happen. So I love it. I love it. That's powerful. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on Power Connections with my good friend in the Lord here, Brother Josh Hatcher. We've been talking about manlyhood, his awesome program he has there, and of course, Hatcher Media. Matter of fact, Josh, two things before we leave tonight, man. I wanted to have you say a few words to the young men out there, if you don't mind, the young men, and then any final words you may have, my friend.
yeah, especially for you young men. This is something that was told to me by an old man, and I didn't understand it
Yeah,
when I was young. Now that
right.
I mean, I'm not that old, but I mean, compared to the young men that
We're
are
wiser,
listening, I
right?
am.
Yeah, we're
The young
wiser.
men think I'm old, and
Yeah,
I think the
exactly.
old man that told me might have been my age, so I viewed him as an
Exactly.
old man. But he looked at me and he said, "You need to learn to anticipate your regrets."
Mm, wow.
And the idea
Yep,
was, you're going to
yep,
make some mistakes,
yep, yep,
and if you can think about what things that you're not going to want to make, if you can think about them now,
yep.
and when you're, this is a hard thing for like, if you're like 18, if you're 16, 17, 18, 19, up to about 25,
Hmm.
now you're not going to want to hear this. In fact, if you're listening, this is probably going to tick you right off when you hear
Yeah.
this. All right. Your
Hmm.
brain is not fully formed yet, but that's scientific. Like science can prove it. If you don't believe me, Google it. All right.
Hmm.
Google
Hmm.
it. Your brain, and you know what part of your brain has not been fully formed yet? Is it's the part of your brain that understands the long-term consequences of your actions,
Wow.
which is
Wow.
why young men make stupid decisions that affect the rest of
Right.
their lives.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not going to get super personal about this, but I've
Yep.
got, I know I made some stupid decisions when I was younger. I mean, I think every man does.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my kids is paying for some stupid decisions that he'll be paying for a long time. Um, like it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so if you can take the advice of somebody on this side,
Yeah.
and if you can just listen, if you can humble yourself enough to listen
Yeah.
and know that you will make mistakes that
Right.
can affect the rest of your life.
Right.
And if you
Yep.
can just picture that before you
Yep.
do something,
Yep.
and if you're not sure, ask.
Right. There you go.
You know, hey,
Yeah.
before I decide
Yeah.
to
Think about
do
it, guys.
this,
Just think.
before I decide to do this,
Think a
let
little
me
bit.
ask somebody
Yeah.
because let me see what they say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it, Josh. I love it. That's all we're really asking, Josh, is to think. Matter of fact, my mom and dad basically taught us just to think for yourself. Think about what you're getting ready to do. I can tell you what helped me a lot is that I got a lot of spankings growing up, so that sure helped me a lot. That's when back in the day
Yeah.
when spankings worked real well for me, guys, and kept me out of a lot of situations, Josh. So I didn't understand it then, but I had to thank my mom and dad later on for all the spankings and discipline because it kept me out of some areas, man. I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. but
And it works when you're younger, and then when
yeah,
you're,
yeah,
between 18, 19, 20, and that's when you've got to do it to
yeah,
yourself, you
right.
know?
Gotta
Those
grow
decisions are
up.
now yours.
Yeah,
And
time to grow
and
up.
you know,
Yeah, that's powerful, man. Yeah, I love it. Well, Josh, I wanted to give you some final thoughts there, and let's do a quick promo too as well. Tell people how to get in touch with you, my friend. They want to reach out to you for more information about manlyhood and Hatcher Media.
yeah, like I said, make sure you follow us. If you just type them in social, you can find us and follow what we're doing there. And we'll have some more stuff. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Look me up and you can follow me there. But for sure, manlyhood.com. If you go to the website, go subscribe to the podcast. We're on Spotify. We're really wherever you listen to
Yeah,
podcasts. We're on YouTube too. So just go follow and subscribe because we had some really awesome interviews coming up and had
yeah,
some really awesome ones there. So make sure you
that's
check it out.
powerful. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Josh. Josh, we got to stay in touch, my friend. You're always welcome to come back periodically if you got something new, event, anything you can share with us. Feel free to come back. You can come on for 5 minutes or 15 minutes. It don't matter, 30 minutes, whatever it takes. But you are welcome to come back on the network. This is what we do. This is part of what we do on the men's side. And we have a women's network. We work with men and women. We do all kind of conferences as well. I don't know if you've done one yet. Maybe we can do a conference together just for the brothers out there on the network, and just invite them to start to have a topic and just a roundtable. Whatever you want to do, Josh, we can do that in the future, man, as well. I'm excited about that. So thank you so much for your time today, man. Wow, it's been great.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any final thoughts, Josh? You good?
No, I'm good. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again sometime, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, hold on a minute, Josh. Hey, first of all, thank you so much. Tell your wonderful wife, thank you. God bless her, man, and blessings. And we'll be praying for the Hatcher family, definitely on this end for sure, that your success be all in God. It's all about the kingdom of God, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're here about. We're just thanking God for his salvation. We thank God for his mercy and grace, okay, ladies and gentlemen. But it's all about the kingdom, as Josh mentioned earlier. And our goal is to make sure. As a matter of fact, Josh, if there's any brother or any men out there, you need a little counsel, hey, give us a call. You can start with me, guys, at 404-401-0233. Just give me a caller. You got a question about salvation, right? If you got a question about where you're at today, you just need a confidant, right? Somebody's going to keep your information confidential. We're here for you on that as well. My number, once again, is 404-401-0233. Email me at menletstalk@gmail.com. menletstalk@gmail.com. If you guys got any questions about anything, we're talking about finances. We're talking about, family, marriage. Maybe you're getting ready to get married. You're going to need some counseling. We're going to encourage that as much as possible. Get some counseling before you get married. Or if you're dating, or if you want to date, all the above. Between Josh and I and our network, we can help you, I believe. I'll give you some thoughts and give you some ideas that will help you decide how to best live your life the best way. We believe in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, Josh, again, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time as well. I want you guys to share this out on all your social media platforms, guys. Everybody who sees this right now live and those later on, please share this out on your platform. And Josh, as my mentor would say, Dr. Larry Carnes, remember to always out love, out serve, and out forgive each other. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that Jesus is Lord. We'll see you next time on Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan. And thank you so much again, Josh, for your time today. God bless you, buddy. Amen.